All right. So we're gonna build what's called Catbook, which is the perfect social media website. And we have two tools: your code editor, which should be VS Code, and your terminal or Git Bash, depending on the OS you're on. Perfect. All right, so this is going to be getting the workshop. I'm going to do it very quickly, just to catch people up. So let's do this actually. How do I? There we go. All right, so I have the slides up and I have my console up here. So I have my console. I'm going to go to my desktop. If I can spell, I can't spell. Spoiler alert. And then we're going to get the workshop from here. And we're going to go to code and copy this. And then we're going to type git clone. We're going to paste it in. And we have cloned the workshop. Again, I'm just going to go through this really quickly. We're going to change directory into the workshop. And we're going to actually git checkout. I'm going to check out the workshop 0 starter branch. Actually, yes, everyone should do this. Check out the starter branch of our, or W0-starter. All right, so again, to git checkout W0-starter. And then we're going to go take a look at the code that is in the starter. So I have my VS Code up. We're gonna open the folder. Let's do it this way. Let's go to desktop and select the Catbook React folder I just cloned. And then we're gonna go to our index.html file. So yeah, you can see that it looks pretty similar to our hello.html file example. Yeah, what Justin said. I'm gonna do things my own way, which might be weird, but there are many different ways to do the same thing. So yeah. And then if we take our index.html and just drop it into our browser, you can drag from here directly from the Explorer in VS Code and put it in a tab. You can see that our hello world is rendered here, which is what we have, the only thing we have in our body. And you can also see in the title element, we have Catbook, and it shows up here. So this is our goal. We're going to create Shannon's Catbook profile, which will look like this in the end. All right, so this one part, we're gonna let you free and do the HTML on your own for a bit. So I think this is when we open breakout rooms.
Now?
Yeah, do it now. So
Okay.
take a look at the slides. These are this is what you're aiming for. So you're gonna add some text, and you gotta add your profile pic, which is this corgi image that you can see in the file structure. Oh, if dragging index HTML to your browser didn't work, you can also just navigate to your folder in the Catbook React folder, and
Oh,
which
wait, as a side note, basically, I assigned like half the people to breakout rooms, and then there's like some people who either aren't here or their name isn't matching, or I didn't get a chance to assign them yet. So if you're able to just like communicate with your group members to try to join the same one, or like message staff through like post in the chat or on Piazza or something if you're having problems with breakout rooms.
yeah.
And right now I'm just gonna assign like unassign people to random ones. If you don't like it, you can move.
Okay, yeah, it's the same repository. I'll just go through what I did again to get to here. So you can go to File, Open Folder, and go to your desktop or wherever it is, and the Capwork React folder, and then select the folder. What was the git checkout thing? So after you clone the workshop, you want to check out the starter code that we have for the workshop. So after you go into your Capwork folder, you type in git checkout w0-starter, and that will get you this hello world that we had here. How do you clone it from GitHub? This line. If we go back to our GitHub, you want to copy, click on code, the screen code button, and copy this and paste that. Yeah, you can join breakout rooms now and do these first two steps. Also, you can stay there throughout the workshop, or you can come back to the main room at the end, or at the end of these two steps. How long should we give? Like 5, maybe like 3 minutes.
Yeah, 5 minutes sounds good.
Okay, 5 minutes. Yeah, 3:57. Claire is still assigning breakout rooms, so if you don't have the ability to join one, then feel free to start going here, and then you can join later, or just stick around here. Okay, I'm going to start the walkthrough, and if anyone's listening on stream, you can rejoin the main room if you want. I'm going to start coding. We should be able to send a broadcast to the breakout rooms. Yeah. All right, so we're just gonna run through these steps real fast on my end. So the first step, yeah, the first step, I already put the name, the title of the page, Shannon Wu, and then we're going to add a horizontal line, which can be added with just this element. It's self-closing. We don't add any attributes right now to it, and this will create a horizontal line like this. And then you can create two section elements for our about me and our my favorite type of cat sections. And then in the first section element, we'll create a heading, H4 in this case, and that will be named about me. And then we will add a paragraph, and we will put I am really allergic to cats. I don't know why I have the cat book. I'm also going to close the Explorer. And then in the second section, it's going to be much of the same. We're going to use H4. Oh yeah, make sure you are checked out. You have checked out to Workshop 0 Starter if you see a lot of things in your file or in your hierarchy. But we're gonna do the same thing. Here, my favorite cat. Type of cat. And paragraph tag. We're gonna type in Corgi because that's a cat, of course. And then we hit save, and we go back to our index.html in our web browser, and we hit refresh. I'm gonna hit F5, and you can see here we have our page. We have our page that should look like what we have in this picture. And that is the end of step 1. If you weren't able to do that and you want to catch up, this goes for any other step in this workshop. You want to type in git reset -- hard, and that will clear your changes to your index.html file. And then you want to type out git checkout W0 step 1. And I could do that real quick as an example. So git reset -- hard. And you see it reset to the beginning of the starter bridge. And then we're going to go git checkout W0 step 1. And you can see we have our page back. I'm going to hit save again and reload, and it's still the same. All right, we're gonna do step 2, which was adding the picture. So, oops. So we have our Corgi picture in our cat book folder. See it right here. If we want to add it, and we can use the image element that we mentioned earlier. And then we want to create an attribute source, put some quotes in, and we want the source to be our corgi.jpg. And then we hit save. We reload cat book, and there's a corgi image at the top. So all of you should be at this part. If you don't have all this, feel free to ask a question in the question doc or ask in the help queue for help. But I'm going to move on to the next step. And yes, if you want to catch up, remember to git reset -- hard, and then type in checkout workshop 0 W0 - step 2. All right, so now we're going to use our, we're going to use, so what this checkout step does is it just redirects you to a different branch that catches you up to what we have at the end of the last step. So, or yeah, the end of the last step we just did. So it will catch you up to what this page appears like. So we're going to start with our CSS. So first off, we're going to link it into our HTML file. You can see we have it here. It's currently empty, just has some placeholder comment, your code here. And we're going to build into our head element, just like I mentioned in the lecture earlier. And we're going to create a link element of closing. And the relation is going to be a style sheet. And the href is going to be styles.css. And if I hit save, it's not going to do anything because it's empty, but yeah, we have linked it to our website. I'm also going to split this like that. Yeah. And make this smaller. So the rel tells you or tells the browser that this is a style sheet that we're going to link, and the href is the location of it. All right. And then next, next, we're going to center the text on our page. So we can center our name. I should be in the center. It's pretty important. So let's center it. So we're going to create a text center class in our styles.css. Typing a dot and then text center with camel case. And we're going to do 2 curly braces. Hit enter between them. That's what I usually do. Some people do it differently. And then we will use the text align property and set its value to center. And hit the semicolon. I wonder, this is for staff, if there's like a question on the question doc that is really important, Maybe it would be good to like forward it here or something so I could say it out loud and just like give it to the whole class. I don't know if that's a good idea. So,
One quick comment that please everyone stop asking questions in the Zoom chat because it just makes it really confusing. So if you have questions, please put them in the questions doc. We answer them pretty fast.
yeah. Alternatively, you could have the questions doc. If you don't have a question, you can have the questions doc up on a different screen or a different window or tab or whatever, and just reference that. Maybe you have a question and someone else had the same question and it's already answered. So yeah. All right, so we're gonna hit save. We've added our text center class with the rule text align center inside. And then before we add it to our website, this is what's called a utility class. And what a utility class is that they generally only apply one CSS attribute modification. So in this case, we're applying a text center, centering our text rule, and it's the only rule in this rule set. And we're going to preface it with a dash or a U dash. And we're going to, the reason why it's called a utility class is that we're intending to use this multiple times across our code. So it's good to just have like something we have on hand to just apply very quickly. So in order to center our name, we're going to take this u-text center class. We're going to go to our h1 with our name, and we're going to type in creating a new attribute. We're gonna create a class attribute, set it equal to the name of the class that we want to apply to our name. So u-text center. Gonna hit save, go back to catbook, and need to hit save on the CSS file too. And then refresh, and our name is centered. Again, if you want to catch up, git reset -- hard, and then git checkout w0 - step 3 will get you to this page. This page. I should leave it up longer. All right, so we have our brand new utility class. Maybe you want to center the rest of the text on our page. So we can do that very easily now. So we have this class attribute in our h1 where our name is. We can actually just copy this and put it at the sections, at the opening tags of both sections. And then if we hit save and go back to catbook and refresh, now everything's centered. So again, all I did is just copy pasted this, or I guess from here, this class equals u-text center, and I just pasted it into both of our sections, and that centered all of our text here, all the text nested underneath each of the sections. Yeah. Okay. And yeah, in order to catch up again, this is step 4. So we have a developed HTML file, and you can sort of see it's already getting more complicated in our hello.html example, but the same basic concepts still apply. We have our two big boxes for our two sections, and they both have two parts, two different elements inside of them. And as you can see, we just put a class. We just put a class in the parent boxes, and it applied the formatting changes to everything in both of these elements in here. So the concept still applies no matter how complicated your file may get. All right, we're getting there. Now, well, we want to put a fancy new font in our Catbook profile page. So, as you can see, the font is random. I think it's Times New Roman. It's serif. It's kind of, I wouldn't say ugly. It's just not modern looking, but like we could change that. So we're gonna go to site fonts.google.com, and actually I'm going to make this full screen. So we're gonna go to here fonts.google.com. I open it in a new tab real quick. And I'll type it in the chat just to. And then what you want to do when you get to fonts.google.com is you want to type in the font Open Sans. So we're here. You want to go to the search bar and type in Open Sans. And you can see here, it popped up here, our Open Sans. So we're going to click on it. And when we click on it, let's go back to slides. I have labeled the steps of clicks that you're going to want to make. It probably will make more sense if I do it live. So what we're going to do is we're going to select the 300 and 600 font weights. So you can see here, light 300, and hit select this style, and semi-bold 600. We're going to select this style. Now this should pop up automatically, but if it doesn't, then just click on this button in the corner, this view and hide your selected families. And then you're going to click on the @import bullet. And you're going to copy everything in between the style and the style element here that it gives us, because this is the CSS call in here. All right, let's put it back. Then you're going to want to go to your code, particularly your CSS file. You're going to put this at the top. Just paste what you copied. Again, we copied this and only this. You're just going to paste it at the top here. And yeah, you can see it here. I pasted it. And then we're going to, what do I have next? Yes, okay. We're going to create another CSS rule set. I'll just pull it up on the side just to show it. In particular, we only really need the body right now, the body selector. So what this will do is, much like any other selector, anything that you put here will apply the changes to everything inside of everything that this applies to. So everything that is nested underneath the body element, which in this case is everything on our website, will be applied these rules. So we're going to put in the font family property. And actually, there's an easier way to do this because Google is nice. If we go back to our Google Fonts page for Open Sans, we just want to copy this code underneath it where it says CSS rules to specify families. And we're just going to copy this. And we're just going to paste this in our body. And when we hit save and refresh our cat book, the font's changed. Yeah. So you can see we have two different font weights. We have the bolder font on the headings and the thinner font on the paragraphs. And if you want to catch up, this is step 5, W0-step 5. Okay, I'm just gonna keep going along with the workshop. Probably not gonna do a big breakout room session again, because we're gonna introduce new things like in each step. So I think it's good to stay together for that. All right, in this case, we're gonna add a navbar at the top of our web page, right here. See, on most websites, heck, on the Google Fonts website, there's usually a navbar, so that's pretty convenient to have. It's a quick way to reach different parts of your website. So we're gonna add our own. So we're gonna go to the top of our body element. We're gonna type in the nav tag NAV, and we're gonna create. Actually, let's just put in the basic HTML first. Inside the nav element, we're going to create another h1 element, and that's going to be the title of our web page, which is Catbook. And then this is spoilers for the future, but we're going to put some classes into our navbar so that we can modify them with CSS. So we're going to create in the parent nav element a class called nav container. And in the h1 element, we're going to create a class called nav title. All right, we're gonna hit save on our HTML and refresh our cat book, and voila, we have something at the top of our page that resembles a navbar. But we can style it a bit. We'll get there. Make it look more like a navbar. So first thing you might want to do is add some colors. But first, we want to define some colors. This is under the assumption that you're going to use these colors all across your website to give yourself a consistent color theme. So CSS has these handy dandy tools that you're probably familiar with from other languages, variables that you can define and use throughout your style sheet. In this case, we're going to create variables for a few different colors, this blue here, and this gray, and this white. You can see the code here, but I'm gonna type it out step by step. So we're gonna type out this root selector, and this selector is kind of special in that it really doesn't correspond to anything in your HTML. It's just where the variables and are stored. And we're gonna create our first variable. Every variable has to start with 2 dashes. And we're gonna type out the name of our variable, which is primary, colon, and then in this case, we're going to use the hex color code for the blue that we want, which you can see on the slide. It's 396DFF. And we're gonna do the same for the other 2 variables. So gray, it is 7, and white is just 3 Fs, because this is assuming the for any color code that has 6 repeating decimals, you can just put the first 3 and it'll be fine. Or 6 repeating hexadecimal digits. All right, I'm gonna hit save. Yes, so remember the dash dash for any variable that you put in your CSS. And then we're going to create a new class, or not create a new class, but create a new rule set to define one of the classes that we created here. So we're going to create a rule set for the nav title class. Semicolon white, yes, thanks. Going to create a rule set for the nav title class. Just going to copy and paste nav title from the HTML and the 2 curly braces. And then we're going to use the font color, which is just color, property, and use the variable that we created earlier, which is the dash dash primary. And you need the 2 dashes also when you call the variable in your code. We're going to also create a rule for the font size and put it as 20 pixels. And we hit save. And once we hit save and refresh Catbook, you see the font's changed. It is now blue and it's a bit smaller now. Yes, keep this in mind. This is how you call a variable in your code. You need the var, the parentheses, the 2 dashes from the start, and the name of your variable, and then closing parentheses. It's also a little line we're going to add in nav title. This is just to cancel some of the default formatting of H1. So we're going to remove the margin. We're going to talk about that later. And we're going to set the font weight to normal. You could also use the font weight 300. There's a few different ways to do this. I just put normal here. And when we do that and refresh, you see it has changed. All right. And what this means with variables is that you can change the color here to anything you want, and it'll update the color in your navbar. So say we wanted to. I'm gonna cheat, use the VS Code color picker. So we want to make it green. Hit save, refresh. It's green. So variables are useful. All right, this is workshop. This is W0 step 6. If you want to catch up, I'll chill here for a bit. All right. So the next part is that we're gonna style the navbar a bit further. So, see, it looks a bit different here, and we could do this with the variables that we created in the classes that we defined earlier in HTML. The spoiler alert already gave away the new container class that you need. Oops, but that'll make your life easier. I'll give you a few seconds to try and do it on your own, and then, and also to try and catch up, and I'll do it for you.
I don't think this was mentioned on the slides, but if you're checking out to a new branch, make sure you do git reset -- hard, and that will
Yes.
basically clear any changes you made. So if you're getting stuck on checking out to a new branch, make sure you run git reset space -- hard, and that will just kind of clear any changes that you made. And you also shouldn't be committing or pushing any changes. Please do not do that.
Yeah, I don't think you'll be able to, but don't try. But yeah, I didn't have it on every slide, but yes, git reset -- hard and then check out. So yeah. All right. So let's mash the styling together. So we're gonna copy this nav. I'm actually just copying. We should actually just copy it from here, and create a new rule set with our nav container class. I just copied the name of the class just to save on typing. The 2 brackets or 2 curly braces, and hit enter in between. And we want the background of our navbar to be the blue that we defined earlier. So there's a property called background color that we're going to use. And we're going to set that equal to not this. We're going to use our variable again. In fact, we could honestly just copy it from here and paste it here. And if we hit save and refresh catbook, it's blue, but also our font's blue. So we can change that back to white. Go to color here and use our white variable and replace it with replace the primary with the white. And then hit save, you refresh, voila. You now have a navbar with a background. And git reset -- hard and git checkout W0 - step 7 if you want to catch up. And I'll sit here for a few seconds. Okay. So take a look at your catbook page in your browser, and appreciate its beauty. But you might notice something. You might notice something all around it. What's that something? You might notice a void. It surrounds your catbook profile. The void. You can see it here. You can zoom in even more. There's a void. We have to get rid of it. We have to fill it up. Let's see what's happening though. So if we go back to our catbook page and right click it and hit inspect element. I'm on Firefox. I'm pretty sure the steps are the same in Chrome, or roughly similar. But yeah, if you click on inspect element, and then you want to click on pick an element from the page in the top left corner, and then you want to look for the body element. You see it up here. You want to click on the body element. It might require some finding it, so click on that. And then if you click on that, and I'm actually going to make this full screen, you can also see we select the body element in this inspector HTML link text editing thing here. But you'll if you go all the way to the right under the layout and open this and scroll down the box model, and you'll see a thing. It says margin. I mentioned this. Oh, you can make this bigger. I did not know that. Okay. Yes, you can see a thing called margin, and it's 8 on each side. It's 8 somethings on each side. That's the void. We need to get rid of the void. How do we get rid of that void then? Yeah, see, these are the steps. It's in the sides. Again, inspect element, pick an element, look for the body, click it, and then go to layout and scroll down. You can also alternatively just click on the body here. Yeah, click on the body here and you'll see it as well. And it's under layout. There you go. But yes, the void. And we go to the margin. You see there's 8 somethings of margin. And what is margin, you might ask? Or what is this box model that you saw? Well, the box model is sort of a way to define space on your elements. So the margin is outside of the border of your box. And then there's also padding on the inside of the border, which is space in between the border, which is the bounds, the edge of your box, and the actual content that's in the box. And these can all be modified in CSS. See here, we have margin here already. So yes, these can all be modified in CSS, and you can play around with these. This is a live editor, and you can see the differences, what border does, and what margin does, and what padding does. All right, so we're gonna get rid of the void. So we can go to our rule set that corresponds to body, and we can add a new selector directly onto it. The HTML selector, and we just add another rule, margin 0. And we hit save. And if we go back to Catbook, we have made our margin 0 everywhere by just putting a 0 in. So if we go back to Catbook and close this out and refresh, the void is gone. We have solved the mystery. The earth is saved. There's no more void. All right, but let's talk a bit more about what we did here and what we can do instead, perhaps. So I mentioned that I just put a 0 here, and it got rid of the void on all sides of our Catbook page. But there is a thing called ordering in CSS where if you put multiple values into one rule, you can if you put multiple values into one rule, it does different things based on the number of values, and we'll see right now. So we put in one value in our margin call, in our margin rule, and what this will do is it will set every single side, all 4 sides of our box to, in this case, in the sides, 10 pixels. And then if we put 2 values, you can see the first value, the 10 pixels, will set the top and the bottom of our box to 10 pixels. And then our second value, the 20 pixels, will set the right and the left side of our box to 20 pixels. And then if we add a third value, now the first value will only set the top of our box to 10 pixels. But because we have a third value, that sets the bottom of our box to 30 pixels now. And the second value still sets the right and left side of our box to 20 pixels. And then if we add a fourth value, all of these correspond to each individual side of the box, going clockwise, starting from the first one, which defines the size of the margin on the top of the box. And then the second one defines it for the right side, the third one defines it for the bottom, and the fourth one defines it for the left side. See, it goes clockwise. This is also another way to think about it. If you like to visualize it like this, so yes. So we've gotten rid of the void, but if we go back to our catbook page, now you see catbook is right up against the edge of the screen. There's no space for the C to breathe here. So now we could add some more some space for our catbook to breathe by adding padding. So if we can go into the code and add this right away. This is what it would look like. So you can see that we're adding padding, 8 pixels at the top and 16 at the right. And we could arbitrarily add pixels. So what's like stopping us from just putting 17 pixels at the top and 34 at the right? That's 17 times 2. We could also use a system. There's one called the 8-point grid system, and it's pretty simple. It's a pretty simple way of having a standard organization for the visuals of your website. And the basics of how this works is to define all of your objects, the sizing of your objects or the sizing of your elements by multiples of 8. And you can kind of see that here. That it just makes it seem a bit more orderly and balanced, which may make your website look more organized. So we can start implementing this 8-point grid system by going into our CSS and creating some variables for this. So we have an extra small variable for 4 pixels. We have a small variable for 8 pixels. Now we're using pixels instead of points, but it's the same idea. Oh, I forgot the cool one. Yeah, we're using pixels. And then we have a third one, medium, for 16 pixels. We have L, large, for 24 pixels, and this could go on and on if you want. And then we're going to go to our nav container, and we're going to add some padding. So if you remember from our box model here, the padding is in between the border, the edge of the shape, and the actual content of the shape, or of the element, shape element. So it just creates some space in between the edge and the content. So we're going to add some of that padding. Create a padding rule. That's a paddle rule, a padding rule. We're going to use some variables. You can use variables in this way for multiple values in one rule. And for the top and bottom of our element, we're going to use the small variable, which corresponds to 8 pixels. And for the left and right, or right and left of our element, we're going to use the medium variable. And we're going to hit save. And when we refresh, now our CAD book has some padding at the top, like this. All right, that was a lot. I gotta wait a little bit for you guys to catch up, but you can also do the get reset -- hard and check out to step 8 if you want to get to where we are. All right. Yeah, the next step, let's talk about border radius. So, well, okay, spoilers, but you might have noticed that our image at the top, it has sharp corners. It's not very nice. You could cut yourself on those corners, they're so sharp. But we could use border radius to round out those corners. I'm not gonna use 50 pixels. We're gonna use our variables instead, keeping with that 8-point grid system, or 8-pixel grid system in this case. One sec. All right. So how are we gonna do this? Well, if we go to our image element, you can see we don't have a class appended to it, but that's fine. We could just directly edit the image element for now, because we only have one image. And let's say we want to apply border radius on all the images on our website. So, oh wait, not yet, later. But actually, we're gonna create a class. That is a later step. Sort of later step, not really a later step. Scratch that. We're gonna create an image class, a class for image that we're gonna call avatar. Or we're gonna call it avatar, not the class. I always do that. We're gonna create a class called avatar. And we're going to put it in our image element, and then go to our CSS file. And we're going to put that same class here. Avatar. Again, we put the class, we created a class called avatar, named avatar, and we put that as an attribute in our image element. And we started creating a rule set for our avatar. Right now it's empty, but we put the dot avatar in our style sheet. And what we're going to do under avatar, this is a property called border radius, as you might expect. And for border radius, we're going to use the variable that we defined earlier. We're going to use the medium in this case. And we just need one because we're going to apply it to all 4 corners on our image avatar thing. And we hit refresh. And I am missing something. Did I refresh? Yes, I did refresh. Hold up. Oh, I didn't hit save here. Always. Now it works. Yeah. Forgot to hit save. But yes, now there is a border radius on the edge of our image. All right, that was step 9. And we could go further. We could make it perfectly round. How do we do that? I refer you to the internet. Or you could just repeat our code by going to step 10 it's I'm not gonna do it live. I'm actually just gonna check out the step 10 because it is quite a process. But feel free to look through the code on your own to how that works. And then if we refresh, it's round now. But yes, feel free to look on your own to see how that happened. All right, we're almost there. We're almost there. Ours kind of looks like the one on the left, and we're looking for the one on the right. And you can see that the sections are arranged in rows, in a row fashion, or along the row, into 2 columns, which is the opposite of how we have it now. So how do we do that? The internet is your friend, but let's walk through the internet real quick. If you Google something like how do we make columns of things or something like that, you might come across our old pal. Yes, not our old pal, W3 Schools, and W3 Schools tells you to use float first, but don't use float. Float is old news. The internet can be your friend because the new news is called Flex. It's called Flexbox. This is more modern. Float is bad. Don't use float. Flex is better. Not this way of doing Flex, but Flex is better. Flex is better. So Flex is a I'll leave this full screen. Flex is a way of flexibly orienting different arrangements of elements on your page. It has a few different functions. We'll run through them real quick. Well, one by one. So the first one is called flex direction, and that's one we're interested in. This determines how we will arrange the items in our flex box. So we can use flex to reorient our website to look like this. Now we can just add, now to start, we need to add a flex box around our sections. And we're close on time, so I think I will continue pushing through this. So right. So we want to make the whole section here into a flex box so we can control how we want to arrange parts of our website. So we can use div to group everything in our body here, or everything under our name here, into one box. So we apply one modification, and that modification we're going to call it. We're going to create a class, and we're going to call it u-flex. Flex. And so we wrapped our entire section in divs, and we've given the div a class u-flex. And then in our CSS, we're going to create a rule set for that u-flex. And in that rule set, we're going to have one important rule that is display : flex. And this will make this entire div into a flex box. And I believe if we hit refresh, yes, it will by default arrange it into a row orientation with 2 columns, 1 column, 2 columns of content in 1 row. So we've made this into a flexbox. Again, we don't have to specify flex direction because this is the default. And this will get you to step 11. But you might notice that these boxes are different sized. You can go to inspect element and see these boxes are different sized, different widths. Well, Flex can fix that. It can also control the sizing of the content inside the Flexbox. So Flex Basis sets the default size, quote unquote, default size of items inside the box. And then there's another one called Flex Grow, which defines what items will get more space when your window is expanded, or when we want to fill up our Flexbox to a certain part of our website. And I will go through, show the GIFs in full screen. So basis, it sets a default size of different parts of your Flexbox. And then grow can show which part of your Flexbox or which items in your Flexbox will get greater priority on the space that it has to fill. So I'll do it live right now, but you can, if you want to jump ahead and do it right away, you can go ahead. There's this website, weblab.to/flex, which has a lot more information on the basics of Flex. Well, that's not everyone to everyone. If you want to read that, but we can do it together right now. So in our 2 sections, we're going to add another class called subcontainer. And for our CSS, we're going to add that subcontainer role. I'm going to hit save here. I'm going to add that subcontainer role here, or subcontainer rules for the subcontainer class here. And what we want in that subcontainer class is we want 2 things. We want flex basis. I want to set that to 0. We don't need a default size. We just take up. We'll see when we put flex grow in. We just work with what we have, and there's no need for any box to be minimally big. So we can set that 0, or no need to set a minimum, and then we use flex grow, and we want to set that to 1. And what that will do is that since each section has been given the class subcontainer, then they will both equally get the extra space they'll both equally get space to fill up their Flexbox, the Flexbox. So what that will look like when we hit save and refresh is it'll equalize the space between these 2 elements. And if we do a quick inspect element, you can see they are both 330 in this configuration, 330 wide, 330 pixels wide. And that was step 12. And if you've reached here, then you are a CSS meowster. That's so bad. But there's a lot more to CSS than this. CSS is it's vast. And again, it's probably impossible to memorize it. MDN is your friend, and MDN is especially your friend. Some other websites can help, but yes, use the internet. Again, I'll recommend the guide at this link that I posted in the chat. And there are also a few different games for learning Flexbox if you want to practice practice using it and practice seeing what different parts of Flexbox do. You can play it on your own time. And there's also some homework if you want to do some extra work with our catbook page. If you do, check out W0-step 13 again on your own time. It has some instructions for what you should do. And then to get to the answers, you use git checkout W0-complete. And remember to git reset --hard every time. And yes, there's so much more to CSS again. But there's going to be an advanced CSS lecture, not by me, next week. So stay tuned for that. Yes, Flex will make you powerful. It gives you the power. And lastly, there's some extra setup homework available at this link. Yes, come to Claire's advanced CSS lecture next week. But yes, there's some extra setup homework at this link. I'm going to post it in the chat once again. So make sure you work on that tonight. And this is for, most of the setup is for future workshops. So it's important to get this done as soon as possible. So yes, that is all I have for this workshop and lecture. And